Hello, friends. This is Xiomara Mayo Ingram, like every Thursday, here with our emotional cafe session. And tonight we have freedom from expectations. And again, this is the final of all the different sessions that we've had in the month during the month of May, which are theme had been freedom, and tonight we're going to be ending and wrapping up the whole freedom topic with freedom from expectations. And before I go on, I want to remind you that you still have time to subscribe to our newsletter. If you haven't done that, all you need to do is go to our webpage and give us your email address and confirm when you get the confirmation email, and you will be receiving the newsletter every month directly to your email account. And also, I would like to remind you that on our webpage you can find all kinds of feature articles, and there's also, we've been promoting that you can contact us and fill out a form in which you can submit your question. This is something that we've been posting on Facebook, so think about it. If there's an issue that you would like us to talk about, if there's a question that you would like to ask me directly, just email us or go to the forms and fill them out, and I'll gladly be answering directly to your email, or I can publish the response on Facebook. And remember to invite your friends and your family members to join us and follow us not only on the social media but also to benefit from the page. Emotional Cafe, as I always tell you, it's your virtual platform. It's for you, and everything that we do here, it's for us to grow together, to conquer ourselves, and to accomplish more in life. I try to share those topics, those issues that have affected me as well, and I'm always open about talking about my own experience and my own struggles, for you to see that if I have been able to do it and if others have been able to do it, you will be able to do it as well. So with that said, let's start with freedom from expectations. And I wanted to leave this topic for the very end, for one single reason. We sometimes get overwhelmed with our own expectations about life and about the way things should be, and we don't realize that expectations have the amazing power to push us away from the now, from today, and it just puts us in a position that we are expecting something to happen. That's what expectation is about. If you ask me what is an expectation, it has to do with that probability, what we consider most is likely to happen. It's usually based on something that we wish or that we want or that we're longing for in the future, and somehow we start believing that it's going to happen. We believe that that is the natural or normal way that it should be, and then since it's not realistic, or maybe doesn't have any foundation to happen, when it doesn't, then we feel so frustrated and so bitter and so angry about everything. So usually expectations are beliefs and hopes and desires that each one of us create depending on a couple of factors. Some of the most common factors have to do with our personality or character traits, the way we are or the way we behave or the way we should be. Same thing with other people, the way they are, the way they handle things, the way they manage themselves, or our interactions with others. That's another common general factor that sometimes rule our expectations, and it has to do with how we bond with other people, how we connect with them, how we treat them, how they treat us. So summarizing, expectations is what I anticipate, what you anticipate, what we hope for, what someone's hoping for, about someone, from someone, or something. So I can give you some examples, very simple. Like, listen to this. Imagine that maybe your husband or significant other is having a day off, and your expectation is that since he's having a day off, he's going to take you out for lunch. Has he told you that he will be taking you out for lunch? Has he mentioned anything for you to think that he's going to be taking you out for lunch? No, but in your mind you think, oh, he's going to have the day off. He has to take me out. It's a logical thing because he's having the day off. This is an example of an expectation in which you have not been you have not come forward to the person and tell them what you expect them to do or what you wish that they would do, and therefore you're imagining all this outcome and all these different things that are going to happen, and the other person is totally clueless about what you're thinking. And maybe this person, again your husband or significant other, they come home because they're having the day off and they're planning to take a long nap and watch TV and relax, and then you're upset and frustrated because you were considering that since it was his day off he had to take you out for lunch. So that's how expectations happen. They are in our minds, and we believe we get to be embraced by this sense that this is the way that things are going to be, and then since they were only in our minds, they don't happen, and then we feel upset and frustrated and angry at the other people. So expectations are preconceived ideas that we have on how things should be. What happens when they don't happen? What happens? What do you think? I don't know about you, but I can tell you about myself. When I have expectations and they don't turn out to be the way I expect them to be, when things don't happen the way I expect them to be, and I have been nurturing in my mind that they're going to be like that, my feelings of frustration are so overwhelming that it's hard for me to be happy and to feel joyful again and come down and realize that it was my own fault because of my own expectations. So reality and expectations, sometimes they crash, and it's simply because we are conceiving this idea in our minds, sometimes with no reason whatsoever, and we are expecting things to turn out in a certain way. And since we have not done anything for that to happen, but just to expect and anticipate and continuously longing for that to happen, when things are not the way we expect them, when things are not the way we want them, then we feel frustrated and we feel that life or the other person have left us down. So we got to be very careful, and that's the reason why we are going to be sharing about the types of expectations, because there might be many different types, but I can tell you three that I think are the ones that we all suffer from. And again, I'm talking about myself, but I'm pretty sure that you can relate to it. First, we have the expectations that we have of other people. Sometimes these expectations we have of situations or life itself. So the first type of expectations that I'm going to be sharing about is those that we have of others and other things. Now, the other type of expectations is those that other people have of us, how we need to be, how we need to handle things, the way that we need to manage ourselves. And finally, the expectations that we have of ourselves. And this is something that is a personal struggle and sometimes even a conflict with ourselves. So let's look at the first one. Let's talk about those expectations that we have of others. Now, when we're having expectations of others, it means that we have this preconception in our minds of how they need to be or act in a certain way. And in reality, each person is entirely free to choose how they want to act or the kind of decisions or choices that they want to make at a certain point. So when our expectations don't play out, we become very frustrated. And this is something that can affect our relationships. The greater the expectations, the greater the negative impact that it will have when they don't, when the outcome is not what we've been wishing for. So we have to keep in mind that we all are totally free to express ourselves, but at the same time, other people have that right too, to express themselves, to choose what they want to do, to act in whatever way they think it's best for them. Some of the most common expectations that we usually get to have of others are, for instance, expecting that the other person knows what we want them or what we expect them to do. And it's just amazing because in my experience, when I have been assisting families, especially couples, people in a relationship, it is just amazing the kind of emotional distance that expectations can create between two people. Sometimes I have found that part of the crisis that this couple is going through had to do with the expectations of one or the other not being met at all, because they never expressed directly what was it that they wanted, and therefore they kept thinking that this other person needs to know, or that this person already knew what I was thinking or how I was feeling or what I wanted. So again, sometimes we get to learn in life. I know it's great when people get to know you so well that they can surprise you by knowing exactly what you would like. But it's also truth that when we share the kind of things we like, or when we share the kind of things that we would like to get, or the kind of things we enjoy, we are allowing others to know us better. It shouldn't be a secret. Like, I can tell you that one of the things that I have done, particularly with my own family, we have created wish lists in which we express and we share with each other the kind of things that we like. And it's awesome because when it's time to give a gift, like for birthday or for Mother's Day or Father's Day or for Christmas, we have a pretty good idea of what people would like. And that makes it way easier. And we're still keeping that surprise factor playing along. But again, when you're expecting that the other person needs to know what is it that you're thinking or that you want, or what you expect them to do, we're kind of playing blindly, and we're not being totally honest by telling them what we expect from them, and therefore we blame them when they don't act the way we expect them to. Expecting that the other person guess or figure out what you like, what you want, how you feel, that's also another common expectation. Just say it. Don't assume that the other person knows. And it's just amazing, especially, and I'm sorry, and again, I'm a woman, but I have to say this. Sometimes we women, we go, oh, because he knows exactly how I feel. Oh, she knows how that bothers me. Oh, they exactly knew how I was going to feel because they know. No, they don't know. Say it out loud. Express it. So then you can say that whatever they did it knowing that you were going to be upset. But if you don't tell them, if you're not open enough, and this is a struggle because sometimes we're too afraid of showing how we feel. Sometimes we're too afraid of our own feelings, of our own emotions. We're afraid of what the other people will think about us. If we tell them what we're thinking or what we're feeling, then we don't say it and we expect others to guess and figure it out. No. Let me tell you that one of the most amazing freedoms you'll ever feel is being able to embrace whatever you're feeling, whatever emotion you're coping with, and sharing it with those you love. Because then you're letting them be part of your life and you're opening yourself to them to see right through you. And I guess that sometimes it's where the problem is, that we don't want people to see right through us. We want to keep these walls and we want to protect ourselves because we have this idea that if we let them see us, they're going to hurt us. You cannot live your life in that paranoia. You need to be able to openly say what you wish, what you want, the kind of things you like. And trust me, it's just an amazing, amazing freedom that you're going to experience. Another common expectation, to expect that others are thinking exactly like you, giving the same solution, having the same ideas. You probably think that they need to know exactly what is that you're thinking because they think like you. Well, guess what? There's a phrase that says that in every mind, in every human being, there's a whole world inside of their minds, inside of their heads. And what it means is that the kind of things that I have in my head might not be the same kind of things that you have in your head. My ideas are mine, your ideas are yours. And I might see things from a different perspective. You might see things from a total opposite perspective, and that is okay. But we need to be able to come to some common ground in which we share how we think. Don't go assuming that others think the same way than you do, unless they tell you so. And expecting things to happen just because you consider that is the most logical to you or your needs. That's setting yourself for frustration right there. Because sometimes things might happen because it's a natural thing that it will happen, but at other times you have no control whatsoever, and things will not turn out to be the way you expect them. So stop thinking that it has to be like that because it's the logical thing that should happen to you or to your needs, considering your needs, because nothing is written on stone, on a rock. So everything and anything can change any minute. So keep that in mind, because these are the kind of expectations that we have of others and of situations and of life itself, that we are setting ourselves up for being upset and frustrated later on. Now let's talk about the others expectations, the ones that others have of us. And since we are little kids, we grow up listening to general expectations that people have from us, which in a way are good. You know, you are growing and you hear your parents telling you that you have to be good, that you have to be responsible, that you have to behave. Then you have the mentors and the teachers telling you the same thing, and you somehow you have all these different expectations that are the social expectations of what people are expected to do. Now here's the problem. At some point when you're growing up, you're also trying to find out who you are, how you feel about things. You're testing limits. You're trying to figure out how you feel about certain things. But you realize that somehow you need that validation. You need others to feel happy about your behavior, about who you are and how you act. And somehow some people become totally a prisoner or slave of those expectations. Now, as we go developing our own self-image, we need to be able to understand those social expectations, but we need to be able to tell the difference between what other people expect us to do in terms of living our life. And this is when the whole thing comes tumbling down, because you are entitled to figure out what's best for you. Unfortunately, we'll make mistakes, and I know that sometimes parents would like to avoid us to make mistakes. Me as a mother would like to avoid my kids from making many mistakes. But the truth is that we human beings, we need the experience to go through our own situations and maybe even make our own mistakes, because that's how we learn. That's where we learn from. And sometimes some people, they decide not to experience life, but simply live the kind of life that others want them or expect them to live. And that's when we have a problem. Yes, there's social expectations to be a good citizen, to be a good person, to respect authority, to go to work, to be responsible, to provide for your family. All these are amazing, good social expectations. But when it's your turn to decide what's best for you and your family and to make your decisions and have your choices, you need to review if you're actually living your own life or if you're living based on what others expect you to do. If the decisions, maybe the way that you correct your kids, maybe the way that you handle discipline with them, is it what you want to do, or is it the way that others are expecting you to do it? Is it the way that your parents did it and you're doing it just simply because your parents did it like that and they expect you to do it like that, even though you're not happy about it or you're not comfortable with that? So that's the kind of questions that you need to ask in order to find out if you are actually living based on your own expectations on what you want to accomplish and do, or if you're living based on others' expectations of you. Ask yourself, am I living the kind of life I want? The kind of life I like? Are my decisions based on what I really want? When you ask these questions, you're going to be able to find your answers and align them with reality, if it's really what you want or if it's really what others want you to do. Finally, the expectations that we have on ourselves. And it's great to have expectations when it comes to pushing you to do better. Now, the problem with this kind of expectations is that sometimes we are so hard on ourselves that we set expectations that will push us to be frustrated with ourselves. Sometimes we have the kind of expectation based on setting the outcome to a single result, and we're not open enough to understand that maybe the result that we want will come through a different process or different circumstances, and therefore we based our reality and we validate ourselves depending on this particular outcome, and that's what really hurts. That's the kind of situation that is going to create anxiety and frustration for yourself when you're doing it simply because it's in your mind and that's the way you expect them to be, and you don't want to listen, you don't want to consider any other choice, you don't want to consider any other outcome because this is the way it needs to be. You're setting yourself for being frustrated. When you're measuring your reality based on your expectations, and especially the lack of flexibility in your process, you need to be able to set realistic expectations in terms of, for instance, the kind of things that you would like to accomplish. But rather than having expectations, my recommendation will be for you, and we're going to go next to that part, to have plans, to have goals that you can actually set an action plan going in order to accomplish those. What is the effect or the consequences of living based on expectations? Well, when you let go of your opinions and expectations of others, you are letting them be free and letting them be whoever they want to be, and you're accepting them, you're not judging them, and you will be able to have a better relationship. Same thing when you're breaking free from the expectations that others have of yourself, of you. It is you and only yourself, the person that needs to decide what's best for your life. And sometimes we pretend that we're gods and that we know what's best for me or for others, and when we live based on expectations, we're not letting life to unfold the way it should be. And by living without expectations, by living based on plans and projects and putting our actions together, we will be living a more practical life and will be open to however life unfolds in front of our lives, whatever surprises we might have, because again, it's part of the action plan. We see it as a journey and we try to enjoy the entire process rather than just the outcome. Now, let me give you some important recommendations that I want to share with you that I think you might be able to find very helpful. These have been what I have been applying to myself, and I have been recommending some of the people that I have been assisting along their emotional growth process on how to be free from expectations. Be responsible of what you want. You have to decide what is it that you want. You have to define it. Don't let others decide what you want. Think about what you want, decide, be responsible, accept that that is what you want, and then be willing to do whatever it takes for you to be able to have that. Don't go expecting others to make it happen for you, but rather than that, be responsible of what you want and take full responsibility of making it happen. Be willing to be surprised by life. We have always mentioned how there are things that we cannot control. Life sometimes can give us amazing surprises. Some can be very good. I know others cannot be so very good. But again, when we have preconceived ideas of how things need to be, sometimes we miss greater things. One simple example is that sometimes we have amazing people around us, great people that we can connect with, but sometimes we have this specific idea of how my husband to be should be, and instead of giving the opportunity to amazing friends that are by my side that I get to know and see that they can be an amazing husband, I keep fantasizing about this ideal that I have in my mind that is only based on my own expectations, and then I'm frustrated because I don't find the partner for life that I want to have. So it is very common to fall for that fantasy of how things should be. Let life surprise you. Have an open attitude to deal with life as it unfolds and be able to enjoy it and get the best of it. Modify your expectation. Don't become obsessed. That's where we have the big problem, when it becomes an obsession. This is the way it has to be, and it's not like this, but it could be like that, but you don't want to see it like that. You want it like this, and then you become obsessed, and again, it's just setting yourself for more and more frustration. Live today, building the kind of life that you would like to have tomorrow. Again, stop expecting others to make it happen for you. Think about it. You want to have more time with your kids? What are you doing today in order to have more time with your kids tomorrow? What are you doing today to be able to become independent? What are you doing today to have a more fulfilling life, a more balanced life, a quality of life that you've always wished? What are you waiting for? It's your responsibility to make it happen, and it starts today. And each day you're building the ground for whatever is it that you want to make it happen. And I can tell you this for experience, because sometimes we want things to happen overnight, and it doesn't happen like that. I can tell you, I'm just going through personal changes in my life, but for the last 2 years we've been planning for this moment, and we've been putting actions together to make this moment happen. And I am enjoying every single part of it, because it's being able to see the realization of a goal that we've had for 2 years. But again, back then we didn't sit down just to see it happen. We have been working for 2 years to make it happen, and it's finally happening. So live today, building the kind of life that you wish you can have tomorrow. Instead of expectations, as I said before, make statements declaring what you want. Make plans. Set short-term goals. Why I always promote short terms? Because when you talk to me about long terms, someday I'll do this, someday I'll do that. Guess what? You'll do nothing, because that's what we do when we are planning long term. Break it into small, short-term goals and make it happen. That's putting actions together. That's what you need to do. Define what is it that you want and start putting those actions together to make it happen. Learn when it's time to change the route to flow with the life. Let's say that you're taking this direction and all of a sudden you come across a big wall. What are you going to do? You already tried to push that wall down and you couldn't. What are you going to do? Maybe it's time to go around the wall. And that's what happens with life. Sometimes you're trying to do this, but you need to be open to go with the flow and make adjustments as needed. Remember that everything we're doing is to conquer ourselves and to have a better life. So don't get stuck behind the wall whining because the wall is not coming down. Do something. Change the route you took. I always promote learn and practice visualizing yourself with the outcomes that you want. Not expecting, but rather than that, feeling that sensation of being able to accomplish it and connecting with what you need to do to make it happen. Again, don't sit on the couch to whine and consider that you're never going to see it because it's not happening. No one is going to make it happen for you. You are responsible to make it happen for yourself. Remember, the key is knowing those things that we can change and telling the difference between those things that we have no power over, we have no control over. And people is one of those. So you need to stop with the expectations of others. You need to stop thinking that you rule their lives and that they're going to be acting the way you expect them to be. Accept people, love them the way they are, and let them be. Because that's when you nurture the real relationship that is going to enrich your life as well. My dear friends, I really hope you find your freedom from expectations. I struggle constantly with it, and whenever I find myself that I'm expecting something, I redirect myself to say it out loud, to say it clearly and directly to the person involved. What is it that I'm thinking or that I want? And when it comes to my own things, I have stopped whining about things that are happening or not happening. I am trying to keep my energy on the things that I can do to make it happen. And I hope that you find your path as well. I want to remind you that if you need any individual assistance, I'm always willing and available for individual sessions that we could do by Skype. Simply send me an email and I'll give you all the information. I hope to see you next week. We're going to be having an amazing topic, dysfunctional families. You don't want to miss it. So see you on the next presentation and have a great evening.